She was unlike anyone you had ever met. She laughed at things nobody else found funny. She saw the world differently. She made you feel chosen, specifically, deliberately, completely chosen. And when she looked at you, really looked at you, you felt like the most important person in any room. You told yourself, this is it. This is the one. And then somewhere between the beginning and now, something changed. Something you couldn't point to exactly, couldn't name, couldn't prove, but you felt it. In the way the air changed when she was unhappy. In the way your weekends quietly stopped being yours. In the way you started editing yourself before you even spoke. Today, we are going to talk about something that almost nobody talks about honestly. The terrifying girlfriend. Not the dramatic villain. Not the screaming cartoon. The real one. The subtle one. The one you love. And I want to be clear from the start, this is not an attack on women. This is not an excuse for bad behavior in any direction. This is psychology. This is pattern recognition. This is the conversation that could save you years of confusion. Because the terrifying girlfriend is not terrifying because she is a woman. She is terrifying because of what love does to your ability to see clearly. Love is the most powerful cognitive distortion available to a human being. And the terrifying girlfriend knows consciously or not exactly how to use it. Let us begin with the myth. The comfortable, dangerous myth. The myth says, men are the dangerous ones in relationships. Men are the controllers. Men are the ones to be afraid of. And while the statistics make clear that male violence against women is a critical global crisis, the myth also creates a blind spot. A dangerous blind spot for men. When men are taught that danger only comes in one gender, they stop watching for it in the other, and that is exactly when it arrives. So let's dismantle the blind spot. Together. Carefully. With honesty and without cruelty. The terrifying girlfriend arrives like a season change. Not like a storm. By the time you feel the cold, you have already forgotten what warmth felt like without her permission. Let's start with the first sign. The emotional weather system. The terrifying girlfriend's emotional state becomes the weather of the entire relationship. Sunny when she is pleased. Stormy when she is not. And you become the meteorologist, constantly watching the sky. You check her tone before you speak. You read her body language before you enter a room. You manage your energy based on what the forecast looks like today. This is called walking on eggshells, and it is one of the most reliable indicators of an unhealthy relationship dynamic. Not because you are weak, not because you are fearful by nature, but because you have been trained slowly, consistently to understand that her discomfort will cost you something. And what will it cost? Your evening, your plans, your friends, your mood, your sense of self. The price is never the same twice, and that unpredictability is the mechanism. The unpredictability keeps you paying attention always. The second sign, love as a resource she controls. In a healthy relationship, love is consistent even when people aren't. Even in disagreement, even in difficulty, the baseline of care remains. But the terrifying girlfriend uses love as a lever. It goes up when you please her. It goes down when you don't. And the withdrawal of warmth, the cold shoulder, the clipped answers, the emotional disappearance is never framed as punishment. It is always framed as hurt. She doesn't say, I am punishing you. She says, I'm just really hurt right now. And you, because you love her, respond immediately to her hurt. As you should. As anyone with empathy would. But here is what she has just accomplished without a single accusation. Without a single demand, she has made your behavior the cause of her pain. And her pain the only thing that matters in the room. This is called emotional manipulation. And in its most sophisticated form, it is invisible to the person experiencing it. Because it doesn't feel like manipulation. It feels like loving someone who is in pain, and you are. You are loving someone who is in pain. The question is, who created the pain, and who keeps maintaining it? The third sign, your past is a weapon she keeps loaded. Everyone in a relationship makes mistakes, says the wrong thing, has a bad day, does something they regret. In a healthy relationship, mistakes are addressed, processed, and released. In a relationship with a terrifying girlfriend, they are collected, archived, and retrieved precisely when they will cause the most damage. You brought up a concern. You had a disagreement. You asked for something reasonable. And suddenly the argument is no longer about what you brought up. It is about what you did 6 months ago, a year ago, 3 years ago. This technique has a name in psychology. It is called kitchen sinking. And it is devastating because it makes resolution impossible. You cannot resolve everything at once. No human mind can hold that many grievances simultaneously and find peace. The discussion collapses under its own weight. And when the discussion collapses, she wins. Not because her point was strongest, but because the structure of the argument was engineered to collapse. The fourth sign: she controls the relationship's social narrative. Outside the relationship to friends, to family, to anyone who might have influence, she has curated a very specific version of you. Not always a monstrous version. Sometimes subtly unflattering. Sometimes slightly pitying. Sometimes just incomplete. She has told her friends about your insecurities, framed as her burden to carry. She has mentioned your failures, framed as her patience in action. She has shared your worst moments, framed as evidence of her strength. And her friends who only know you through her narrative look at you with a slightly different expression than they should. You feel it. You cannot prove it. And when you try to name it, she says you are being paranoid. The fifth sign: your autonomy becomes a negotiation. You want to spend Saturday with your friends. This should be simple. This should be uncomplicated. This should be something that requires no more than a sentence. Instead, it becomes an event, a negotiation, a process that costs you more energy than the actual plans are worth. And because the process is so exhausting, you start making a calculation. Is it worth it? Is this plan worth what it will cost? And sometimes, most times, you decide the plan isn't worth it. And you cancel. And she doesn't even have to ask you to. That is the goal. Not to forbid. To make the cost of freedom so high that you voluntarily surrender it. Real love expands your world. It does not shrink it. If your world is getting smaller, that is not love managing your life. That is control disguised as love. The sixth sign: crying as currency. Let me be absolutely clear before we go further. Crying is human. Emotion is real. Grief and genuine pain deserve full compassion and full presence. But there is a difference between emotional expression and emotional deployment. And the terrifying girlfriend has learned often without conscious awareness to deploy tears with devastating strategic precision. The tears arrive at the exact moment she is losing an argument. The tears arrive when you try to establish a boundary. The tears arrive when you try to have a conversation about her behavior, and every time they arrive, you make a choice. Comfort her or continue the conversation. You always choose comfort. Because you love her. Because you are not a monster. Because that is what humans with empathy do. But each time you choose comfort over the conversation, the unaddressed issue grows, and the pattern calcifies, and she learns, again, often without conscious intent, that tears work. That tears stop conversations. That tears reset the dynamic in her favor. Now let's talk about real cases, because abstract patterns need human weight. Marcus was 31 when he met Elena. She was brilliant, creative, emotionally expressive in ways he had never experienced before. She made him feel deeply connected to his own emotional life for the first time. Within 8 months, he had cancelled a planned trip abroad with his best friends. Not because she forbade it, but because the week before the trip, her emotional state had made it feel impossible to leave. Within 18 months, he had stopped going to therapy, because she said his therapist was putting ideas in his head. Within 2 years, his closest friends reported that he seemed like a different person. Quieter, more careful, more managed. He had not been hit. He had not been screamed at in ways he could clearly name. He had been managed, curated. Slowly, completely, competently managed. And the worst part, the part that kept him in it longest, was that she seemed to love him. Genuinely, deeply, desperately. And that is perhaps the most important truth of this entire video. Most terrifying girlfriends are not performing love. They are genuinely feeling it in the only way their architecture allows. That does not make the behavior acceptable, but it makes it comprehensible. And comprehension is the first step towards something better. Let's go deeper into the psychology. Because understanding where these patterns originate changes everything about how you see them and how you respond. Many women who exhibit these patterns were raised in environments where love was conditional and unpredictable, where affection had to be earned, where the removal of warmth was the primary disciplinary tool, And a child raised on unpredictable love develops one primary survival strategy: control the environment to control the love. As an adult, that strategy doesn't disappear. It simply transfers from the childhood home to the adult relationship. The emotional weather system. The tears as currency, the past as a weapon, the narrative control. All of it the same control strategy, just in adult clothes. Anxious attachment, the most relevant framework here, produces a specific and recognizable pattern. The anxiously attached woman is not trying to trap you. She is trying not to lose you. The difference sounds philosophical. In practice, it feels identical. Because whether she is driven by fear or desire for control, the effect on you is the same. Your world gets smaller. Your voice gets quieter. Yourself gets managed. And a relationship where one person consistently shrinks is not a relationship. It is a consumption. Now what do you do? Because knowledge without action is just sadness with better vocabulary. First, and this is the hardest thing I will say in this entire video, stop managing her emotions for her. You are not her emotional regulator. You are her partner. Those are not the same role. And confusing them is where you begin to disappear. Her emotions are real. Her pain is real. And it is also not your entire responsibility to prevent, manage, or absorb them. Second, rebuild your external world. Quietly, consistently, without announcing it as rebellion. Call the friend. Book the trip. Go to the therapy session. Do the thing that makes you more fully yourself. Because a fuller self is a healthier partner to yourself and to her. Third, name the patterns. Not in attack, not in accusation, in observation. There is a specific phrasing that psychologists call an I statement, and it is the difference between a conversation and a confrontation. Not, you always do this. But, I have noticed that when I raise a concern, I end up comforting you before the concern is addressed. That phrasing invites reflection. It does not demand defense, and the response to that phrasing will tell you everything you need to know. If she reflects, if she genuinely hears it, the relationship has a future. Growth is possible. Change is real. If she deflects, if the tears arrive or the past archive opens, you have your answer. Not about whether she loves you, about whether the relationship can hold you both. Fourth, know when it is time to leave. And know that leaving a person who is in genuine pain does not make you a bad person. It makes you a person who understood that you cannot save someone by slowly disappearing inside their need for saving. Let's return to where we began. She was unlike anyone you had ever met. That was true. That is still true. The uniqueness was real. The connection was real. The love on both sides was real. But real love and harmful patterns are not mutually exclusive. A person can genuinely love you and also genuinely harm you. And the question is never, does she love me? The question is, does this love leave room for me to remain? Does this relationship hold the full version of you? Or only the version she can manage? You deserve to be held, not managed. Loved, not controlled. Chosen, not contained. And the most terrifying thing about a terrifying girlfriend is not what she does. It is how long her love can make you believe that what she does is what you deserve. You deserved more than that. You deserve more than that. You will always deserve more than that. Remember who you were before you started checking the forecast. Go back to that person. He is still there, waiting for you to stop managing the weather and start living in the sun. That is why you should be terrified of your girlfriend. Not because she is your enemy, but because love, when it is built on fear instead of freedom, is the most invisible cage ever constructed. And invisible cages, by definition, can only be escaped by those who finally learn to see them.